You're forgetting the part where when they first land in Japan and then they mimic the language.
Oh, that was so bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was bad. I don't even know like if satire excuses that one.
Your back.
Welcome to Cinematix Problematix, where we celebrate your guilty pleasures. I'm Krissie Rettig.
And I am Erin Maxwell. And today we are going to be talking about MASH. Based on the book MASH, a novel about 3 army doctors by Richard Hooker, the 1970 movie is directed by Robert Altman and is a dark comedy war film that set during the Korean War. It follows the antics of 3 irreverent army surgeons named Hawkeye Pierce, Duke Forrest, and Trapper John, who are all stationed in a mobile army surgical hospital unit. And while they face the horrors of war in the operating room, they use humor, pranks, and rebellion to rebel against authority as a coping mechanism. It stars Donald Sutherland as Hawkeye Pierce, Elliot Gould as Trapper John McIntyre, Tom Skerritt as Duke Forrest, Sally Kellerman as Hot Lips Houlihan, and Robert Duvall as Frank Burns. The film mixes satire, black comedy, and anti-establishment themes, offering a sharp critique of war and military bureaucracy. It was both a critical and commercial success. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes and inspired a long-running and hugely popular television series of the same name. However, this Altman film has recently come under fire due to issues with misogyny, homophobia, dated themes, especially when it comes to women's sexuality and race. Reviews online, recent reviews, have called the film mean-spirited, edgy to the point of cruel, and my personal favorite, an unpleasant war film with an unhealthy dose of bigotry. Krissie, what are your experiences with the movie MASH?
Well, first of all those people are fucking idiots.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I fucking love this movie.
She does. And you will see throughout this podcast just how much Erin loves this movie. She is kind of like a MASH encyclopedia. I just watched it for the first time like this week. So when I was a child, I remember MASH, the TV show, being on. I knew at a certain point, I think in my adolescence, that it was actually based on a movie, but I never really was drawn to the show. I think I watched snippets of certain episodes or something, but like a war show never really appealed to me.
I just want to say that if you are Gen Alpha or Gen Z, so you don't have experience with reruns, MASH was always on. It owned every network, every station, everything. It was just consistently on in everybody's childhood. Please continue. Sorry.
Yeah, you should be sorry. Anyways, so it was always on. And the only thing I remembered was the theme song. Like the theme song is kind of depressing sounding. And so I was just like, I don't want to fucking watch a depressing wartime TV show. So I'm just not going to watch it. And so many years later, we won't tell you exactly how many, but Erin said, why don't we do MASH as part of this podcast? And I was like, sure. I said, is it really problematic? Because I had no idea. And she said, oh yeah. So I sat down to watch it knowing that it was supposed to be a satire and that it was supposed to be a comedy. So going into it knowing that is very helpful, because if you go into it not knowing that, it can seem very, very problematic and pretty much aligned with those recent critiques that Erin was just talking about, if you don't know any better. But I found the film really enjoyable. It takes a minute for my brain to kind of latch on to what it's trying to do, because after this is Robert Altman, who is kind of like the master at kind of like these ensemble casts, these kind of the improv dialogue, people talking over one another. And these scenes are very loosely connected. There really isn't a story arc. It's just like these scenes of these guys in this MASH unit, and hilariousness and antics ensues, right?
So yes and yes and yes. Everything you said is correct. To begin with, this movie is kind of sort of, yes, based on truth. The author, Richard Hooker, he was a doctor. He did serve in Korea, and Hawkeye is kind of sort of based on him and the people that lived with him in what was quote unquote the swamp. Whether or not they did these things is kind of up for debate.
But these particular incidents weren't in the book, though, right?
They were all in the book.
All of the incidents were in the book?
the incidents were in the book. Whether or not they actually happened in real life.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it is unclear whether or not that is true.
Okay.
Maybe some of them happen. It is very heavily exaggerated. So it is not very clear what it is. I know that he was very unhappy later in life with how Alan Alda in the TV show later portrayed him, because he and Alda had different political views. That being said, going forward, Robert Altman style, this was proto-mumblecore. So if you're not used to Robert Altman style, which is very meandering, kind of a hangout film, you don't really have any kind of plot. Nothing's really driving the characters. There's no MacGuffins. There's no red herrings. There's nothing that is like what you would call a normal plot style. It's just a series really of vignettes.
Right.
And you're just kind of meandering from one like short story to the next.
And as a person who just watched it for the first time, that was something I was trying to wrap my head around. I was just like, what the fuck is this movie about?
And
it's about nothing. It's not about anything. It's not just like, it's the story of a person who does this and then this happens and then they face adversity and then this is the end. It's like, it has absolutely nothing to do with your conventional like 3-act story arc.
No, it's the story of just 3 doctors and the insanity that they created in order to live with the horror that was their daily lives. Right. And that is it.
The only place you see these horrors, though, is in the surgery room.
Correct.
Like, the movie opens with somebody coming and being airlifted in to the MASH unit, and like these wounded soldiers being put in, and they like the surgery scenes are pretty graphic, but you have like these graphic surgery scenes, and you know, Elliot Gould and Donald Sutherland are kind of like making these little humorous quips and shit like while they're operating on people. It is like a complete contrast to the violence that's allegedly happening in the background, which you never see. You never see any of the violence itself.
And that could very well, first off, I feel like that was reflected the book fairly well, because the horror was never reflected too terribly in the book. There's maybe small scenes here and there. The TV show did a much better job of expanding that because it was on fucking forever. It was on longer than that war, than
and
5 other wars.
And it was a hit. So they probably had like some time to like fill in some of the gaps that the movie kind of ignored.
And TV wise, they did a better job of fleshing out the characters because you're hanging out with them for like a decade.
And like the show though, I mean, you've watched some of the show, right?
Yeah, I've watched all the show. I like the show. I read all the books. I watched all the show. I watched all the episodes, and I saw the movie. I am fully invested in the MCU of the MASH universe.
Can you guys tell that Erin really likes this movie? But on the show, do the episodes like have a point to them? Like, is it just like, this is the episode where, you know, Hot Lips Houlihan does X, Y, and Z or whatever? Is it more like that? It's like kind of like more contained, like these stories are like.
Very much so.
Okay.
And they kind of got a grip on things. Like I would say in the early episodes, it was more reflected more of the movie. And then in the later episodes, they were just said, fuck it, we're going for the Nobel Peace Prize. And then they just 100% just kind of went for these really gut wrenching episodes sometimes. Oh. They really went for it. I don't know if you ever saw the last episode of MASH.
I heard it was like one of the most watched episodes of television of all time.
And it was absolutely heart-wrenching. It was this, putting it briefly, it's Hawkeye goes insane. He loses his mind. He has a nervous breakdown because he is it's a moment in his life where he's on a bus and he's screaming at a woman because she's holding a baby and it's crying, and there's a breakdown in translation and she ends up strangling her own baby.
Oh my God.
And in his mind he replaced it with a chicken. And it sounds weird when I'm describing it.
Yes, it does.
But he thought that she just killed a bird on the thing. And he's like, I don't know why I was so upset. But then he realized that he had a nervous breakdown and that she actually strangled her own child because she's so used to Americans and like so used to like violence that she thought that she and her baby were going to be killed, that this was her response to him yelling at her. And then the fact that he was responsible for this baby's death caused him to have a mental breakdown.
And so the list of shows whose finales I never want to watch just grew by one show.
It's kind of like, it's really up there. And that's just one of the episodes. There were so many heart-wrenching episodes. But again, it was actually a pretty great show. But again, we were very young when it was on. It was something that I watched later on.
Right.
And something I kind of watched a little bit when I was a kid because it was just always fucking on.
Right.
And it was either that or the People's Court. And I just...
I was People's Court all the way. All the way. That's what I was watching when I was not watching MASH. That's why I don't know anything about the show.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, back to the movie. The movie
doesn't go that dark ever.
No, it doesn't get that dark at all, really. I mean, there's maybe one or two scenes, I think, possibly, kind of when you get to maybe a little bit with Bud Cort. This is Bud Cort's also first movie. You might know him from Harold and Maude. The scene where Frank Burns yells at him and tells him that he's responsible for the death.
He's the kid. His name is Boone, I think.
Yeah, and he starts crying, like maybe a little dark there.
Mm-hmm. No, well, that was sad. That was just mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like momentary. It was such a small scene, and like the rest of the film is just so
irreverent.
That was the exact word I was going to use. It is so irreverent and humorous and just not taking itself that seriously whatsoever. So yeah. How about this? Should we jump into
the sins?
Yes, the sins.
There are quite a few.
There's a lot.
Yes. Let's jump on in. Now, when we jump in, it is important to remember that while this movie was made in 1970, this movie was set somewhere between 1950 and 1953.
Yes.
Because that is when the Korean War took place. Mm-hmm. So it's probably towards the end of the Korean War because they were sent home. So maybe, let's say, be generous, in 1952.
Sure.
So 1952 rules apply.
Yes. And it is important to note that it wasn't until 1948 that minorities and women were allowed into the military. So this is just a few years after that happened.
Correct.
Like in terms of the movie time frame, I mean.
And also homosexuality was still seen in many ways as a disease by many medical professions.
That'll be important in a second or two.
This isn't just stuff we like to say for fun.
No. It's all going to matter. I
promise you this is relevant.
It's important for the context of the sins of the film, but we'll contextualize some of it for you. Go ahead.
So the very first sin is good old-fashioned misogyny. Mm-hmm. This is a boys' club film, and the center of the boys' club is the swamp. And in the swamp, we have Hawkeye, we have Trapper, and we've got Duke. Mm-hmm. And they are the martini swilling boys, and they are raunchy as fuck. They are hidden on anything that moves.
Yeah.
They are there for not a long time, but for a good time.
For sure. And I mean, they don't suffer any fools either, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of like above everybody. They're a little bit smarter than everybody, and they approach the seriousness of their profession with kind of like this lackadaisical quality to it. It's just kind of like strolling into the surgery and then like casually making like these humorous quips like as they're operating on someone's chest.
And sometimes they're mean-spirited.
Yes. Let's talk about what some of the stuff they say about some of the nurses and stuff.
Okay, so like they're in the operating room, and I want to be clear that these nurses are on the front line and they can very well die at any given moment. And the things that are being said are like, it's a good thing you're good looking, nurse, because, things like that. Like
he says, it's a good thing you have a nice body, nurse.
There
Otherwise, I'd get rid of you quick.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like one of the first women that we see in the film, her name, I think in the credits even, I'm not sure, but her name is like Lieutenant Dish, because they walk into the tent and he says that she's a nice piece of scenery and she's a dish. And so then after that, she's called Lieutenant Dish.
When they're requesting a nurse, when they're in Japan, they say, get me a nurse who knows how to work without getting her tits in the way.
Yeah, very important. That's probably why they didn't invite her to play golf.
Yeah.
Because her tits would just get in the way.
And in general, their overall treatment of Hot Lips, including her name.
I mean, okay, let's get into Hot Lips. Let's get into so first of all, it's like lay the foundation for the character. So Nurse Houlihan, she comes in, I think it's like maybe like 20 minutes into the film or so.
I want to say like 35.
35 minutes, something like that.
Significant amount.
Yeah. So she comes in as like the head nurse. She's very attractive. She's blonde. She is very orderly. She's very professional. She takes her job.
Kellerman, who is a knockout and a wonderful actress.
She takes her job very seriously. And this is obviously in stark contrast to the men that we met in the beginning of the film, who don't take anything seriously and take probably womanizing more seriously than they take their actual jobs or saving lives. So she comes in and she's seen kind of like as a foil to kind of like their antics and everything. So we mentioned that Robert Duvall plays a character named Major Burns, and he is kind of like this Bible thumping, self-serious, self-righteous, kind of hypocritical dude. And she actually likes the guy. Like, the other guys are making fun of him. She's just like, I actually respect him a lot.
She's regular Army.
She's regular Army, yeah.
Yeah. So she wasn't drafted. This is her career. They go into more detail in the TV show, but her father is regular Army. Her entire family is regular Army. And this is her profession. And to be a woman in the 50s who has spent her life in the Army is quite an achievement, actually.
Well, yeah. I mean, even I have some stats really quick. Like in the Korean War, it looks like there were about 120,000 women served in the military during the Korean War. And most of them were in nursing, administration, logistics, and support positions. And about a third of them were nurses. So women weren't allowed to, be in any kind of leadership positions. They were never on the front lines. Well, not like in combat, I should say. And this was kind of like, as far as women in the military went, like a position of some authority, or it was supposed to be, because she's like in charge of like the rest of the nurses and everything.
It was very rare, and she was very proud of her position, and she should be. She worked probably very hard to do it and had to deal with these assholes everywhere she went.
These very charming anti-hero assholes.
And they were. And listen, I love this movie, and I also find them very charming as well, but they're
dicks.
But they were dicks. They were dicks to her.
Yeah. No, they were totally dicks to her. Like, go ahead.
The character of Hot Lips Houlihan is more fleshed out as a villain, and she's up to more villainy in the show. She's a little bit more conniving, and especially in the beginning part of the show. I would say within the first 4 or 5 years of it, where she and Frank were just kind of up to no good, and they were kind of like no good nicks.
Right.
And they were always kind of like scheming to bring down the swamp.
Yeah.
So like that was kind of fun to watch when they were kind of scheming against her, because the writing was a little bit more fleshed out and she deserved it a little bit more.
Right.
Here,
they hint at that. They don't really establish that she's a villain.
No, she wrote a very strongly worded letter. Which they stopped.
Well, and I think like her biggest offense though, right, is like she's a rat, or at least like they think that she is one, right? For very valid reason, she like has a complaint, right? But it's like one of those unspoken rules too. It's like you're just not supposed to rat people out.
And also because she sided with Frank Burns, which they know is
who nobody likes.
Which nobody likes. And to be fair, I don't like him either.
No, I didn't like him.
I don't know. He's terrible.
No,
he's a hypocrite, and his character changes from the book, from the movie to the TV show as well. But in all versions of Frank, he's a sniveling asshole.
He's a total wet blanket. And so like when she hears the guys, like our main characters, like criticizing and making fun of Major Burns, Duvall's character, and she's like, "Oh, I actually admire him." She's like, "I don't understand why they're making fun of him." And they have like a bond, within camp and everything, which leads to a sexual encounter.
So the microphone in the tent, I actually thought was kind of funny.
So
I don't have any issues with that.
They put a microphone under her bed in her tent.
Yes.
So when they are together, everything gets caught on
and that's where the Hot Lips name comes from,
because she's like, my lips are hot, and it's like
kiss my hot lips.
My hot lips, and everybody's listening to it. They put it on the entire PA system.
Honestly, if they had left it there, that would have been punishment enough, because I felt like that was enough.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing
really
embarrassing for both of them, but more embarrassing for her afterwards because she got that nickname. He didn't get a nickname. She got the nickname.
No, they later on got him ejected because they made him look a crazy person like 5 minutes later, because he got into a fist fight with Hawkeye. And so he like got a Section 8 out of the camp.
I will say one of the more endearing parts of Hawkeye is like he punches him after Burns blames the kid.
Oh, no, that was Trapper.
Oh, that's right. That is Trapper. Okay, you're right. You're right. I'm getting him confused.
Hawkeye sits down and very quietly in front of Authority starts baiting him with what they said and then makes Frank attack him. Yeah, that's what happens.
Craziness ensues.
And then craziness ensues.
But yeah, so the first like misogynistic thing, cruel thing that they probably did to Houlihan was like the microphone under the bed, and then kind of like,
But that was to both of them. And
it was in her room though. Like they wanted to hear her, right?
Was it? Yeah,
I think it was her room.
It was her room, but they knew it was Frank. They confirmed it because they saw it through the window.
Right.
They knew that they were both being hypocrites because in the end, there's rules about canoodling in the tents that she wasn't keeping either. So they were just kind of pointing out that they were both being hypocrites.
Right.
They knew that Frank was married. He wasn't a Christian man. He was spouting Jesus Christ and not keeping to the word. So I actually had no issue with that as a prank.
And I mean, his biggest flaw, I mean, let's be honest, is that he was no fun.
No, he also blamed Boone. He's also like,
no, he's a dick. No, he's an absolute dick. We don't like him. We don't like him. We don't like the guy.
Fuck you, Frank.
Yeah. So there was that. That was a big one.
The next big one, that's where I have the issue, is the bet of whether or not she's a natural blonde. So they have a bet. So it's Duke and Trapper and Hawkeye, and they make a bet whether or not she is a natural blonde. And they all decide that 3 of them have to see her.
They have to prove it. They're like, somebody has to expose it, but we all need to see it. So how are we going to see it?
So they decide that what they're going to do is that they're going to lift the flap of the shower tent in front of the entire camp while she's naked.
Right.
Even the actress Sally Kellerman didn't really fully understand the scene, and she said that she was highly embarrassed when that happened.
Yeah. So the thing that was probably the most disturbing about that entire scene is like, okay, so they decide that once she goes into the shower, they've like rigged the shower curtain to where like if you cut like a rope, like it raises the shower curtain and she's totally exposed. But before this happens, they all get chairs. And they get seated right in front like they're about to watch a show.
Right.
And
they have a drum roll.
And like it's like several men, a couple of women even, who are like sitting there waiting for the show to happen. And so at a certain moment, they cut the rope. The shower, curtain thing goes up and she's totally naked, totally exposed. She falls to the ground. She is mortified, screaming. And it actually, is her performance actually was... That stung me more than like the prank itself, I think, because it seemed like her reaction was really like humiliated. It wasn't like comedic in a way. Like her reaction wasn't funny.
We're used to a certain reaction in high comedy, which is when a woman is exposed in that kind of hilarity, in that kind of situation, it's her immediate reaction in a comedy way is to cover her tits, cover her crotch, and do the 1 foot like shocked face. Oh, and you see it in Porky's. You see it. It's a common trope.
Right.
And what she did is that she hit the ground.
Yes.
And that is exactly what you would do in real life.
Probably because that covers you.
Because
nobody can see anything else. And I think everybody like whoops and laughs for a while, and then I think some of the women get up and like go to her with like towels. But after, I mean, the damage is done, right?
And the reason that that's real is because it negates the shower.
Right.
Because it means that you have to take a shower again. That you have to go through all of that all over again.
Waste of water, man.
And it reinforces a belittling culture as a whole, and it mocks female authority.
Yeah.
And that's what that whole scene does, and it belittles her. And she's the only female authority figure that this movie has.
Right. But obviously never do this in real life. Like it's really bad, and it's, very misogynistic, and it's, she got totally objectified, and it's humiliating and all that fun stuff. But going back to kind of like what this movie is, this movie was at the time a commentary on the Vietnam War, and it was trying to break down the apparatus. It was trying to make fun of that. It was trying to make fun of like incompetent people in authority. And she was a representation of that authority. And so that was like their justification for saying, okay, we can totally humiliate this person, because thematically, I guess, it kind of went with what they were trying to do.
She represented what the Army wanted it to present in 1970, which was look how wonderful we are. Look how beautiful we are. We have this beautiful, wonderful woman, and she is high up in authority, and she is everything that represents modern army for 1970. Because at this time we have Vietnam War going on, and this was a commentary on the Vietnam War. And so it was a commentary on the war using a 1950s historical moment. And satirizing that, because she was a stooge. She was missing the points,
Right.
which was she missed the point of Frank Burns. She missed the point that these men didn't want to be here. When she approaches Hawkeye in the mess hall and she sits down, she goes, "Oh, I want to have a conversation with you about like your career in the army." It's like, no, you're missing the point. He was drafted, man. He does not want to be here. He wants to go home. He wants to be with his family. You know, the only reason he would talk to you is to take you to bed.
Right.
Like-
but I mean, it should be said too that like, even though this is kind of like a shocking scene, especially for modern audiences, if we kind of like lean into like the idea that they were just trying to take down authority figures and she was one of them in the film, like there are other characters that kind of don't get away with it either. Like the Colonel doesn't get away with it at all.
Oh, no.
You know, we can talk about that in a second, but like the Colonel, who's also like this very uptight guy who is kind of like no nonsense and kind of pedantic and everything, like he gets his comeuppance in a way too, and he gets humiliated in his own way.
The only authority figure that kind of gets away with it is Blake. And that's because he's as much as a doofus as, you know, and kind of like insane as everybody else.
Well, I mean, he's also, isn't he the one that was also caught in bed at one point?
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
goes to complain and he's like in the bed with another woman, like holding wine glasses. It's like, what is it? I think it's like when Houlihan goes to complain.
Yeah.
So,
And he's whenever you see him, he's just like putting together fishing lures. And
but that's why he gets away with it, because he's one of the guys that isn't taking his shit seriously. You know, and he's like one of the guys that's just kind of like, this is all fucking ridiculous. What's the point? I'm not going to take anything.
He's just babysitting the asylum. That's all he's doing.
Right.
And he recognizes himself as that. He's just there to like make sure that the inmates don't turn on each other.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And like he's barely doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and the women, beyond just like the shower scene, beyond that, it's like women are, you know, generally they're called idiots at some points. Like during the football game at the end, they're all cheering for the wrong thing. It's like they don't get the rules. I mean, that actually is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like they're there for comedic relief.
Houlihan, you nincompoop.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, we got a red flag. Woo! I mean, those parts are kind of funny. But yeah, on the whole, women are
Sexualized and dismissed.
Sexualized and dismissed and objectified. And Houlihan gets the worst of it.
Yes.
Hot lips.
Let's talk about some homophobia.
Sure.
Yay!
Woo!
So there is a very bizarre and interesting scene in this film.
This scene was wild.
Okay.
Like,
and
it was so weird when I watched it, but please go ahead.
So it's very hard to explain, so I'm going to try and do my best here. There is a dentist in the film called Painless, and that is his name.
Walkowski, yeah.
Yeah. And Painless, as in suicide is painless.
Oh, God, that song.
Yes.
Fuck. Okay, go ahead.
He was known for also having a very, very, very large penis. So large, in fact, that whenever he takes a shower, there is people that take turns looking at it in the shower.
Like a peep show.
Like a peep show, yes. And he is very much committed to the 3 women he is engaged to back home. And he has a problem. And the problem is that he was about to bed a nurse and he could not get his penis to work.
Couldn't get it up.
So immediately he jumped to the conclusion that he may be a latent homosexual.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that, he decided that he was going to commit suicide.
That he must die.
He must die.
Yes. And some of his compadres say that, oh, you know what'll work perfectly is this little black pill.
We have a black pill that'll help. And the way we find out about this also is that the priest has a nervous breakdown trying to get Hawkeye to go help him because both suicide and homosexuality is a sin. So he doesn't know. It's just, and he can't admit any of this because it was all said in confession. But poor Padre is having a nervous breakdown and Painless is going to kill himself. So yes.
So the men band together and they say, okay, well, we're going to do this right? So they all get together and they put together kind of like a farewell party for him and a funeral. A last supper. And like they play the Suicide is Painless song, the MASH theme song, for those of you who don't know the lyrics. If you've never heard the lyrics, I heard the lyrics for the first time today and I was like, what the fuck is this song about?
Written by Robert Altman's 14-year-old son.
And it sounds like it.
And that song has made that young man more money than this movie ever made his father.
Well, because they played it before every single friggin' episode.
God bless America.
I mean, but I never heard the lyrics until, seriously, when I watched it. It is painless. Like,
yeah. We owe Mike and money now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So they have like this Last Supper style thing, like where Wachowski or Painless is in the middle of this really long table surrounded by all of these officers and other people in the MASH unit. And then he goes and gets into a coffin.
And they give him the pill.
And
then at the same exact time, Hawkeye's quote unquote girlfriend, the Dish,
yes,
is about to sleep with him for the very last time because she's about to go home tomorrow to her husband. And he asks for a favor. So he says, you need to do one last act of charity. And he takes her to the quote unquote corpse.
Who's breathing.
And he's very clearly alive of Painless. And says, you could bring him back to life. Do your duty. And like
wink, wink.
Wink, wink. And presents her with the task of fucking him to bring him back to life.
But my favorite part,
yes,
is her gently lifting.
Yeah.
So Hawkeye leaves.
So she's appalled.
She's appalled.
And Hawkeye, as anybody would be.
And she's like, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. And so, but Hawkeye leaves. And then she's just like, oh, fuck, what do I do with this thing? And she gently lifts the white blanket and kind of peeks underneath.
And like an opera, like the music grows, it swells, and it's like, whoa!
Amongst other things.
Yeah. And it's just like to reveal the majesty of his penis.
Yeah. Because I mean, as you recall, people were actually, taking turns looking at this marvel while he was showering.
So it alludes to the fact that she did it because it cuts to the next day and she's just got this dazed look on her face.
Yeah.
And she's unable to comprehend the human language anymore.
But what happens as the helicopter flies away is that she smiles.
Yeah.
As if like at the end she was just like, that was kind of cool or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it was either good or it was like
the greatest experience that she ever had in her entire life is what I took away from it.
Yeah.
And then nothing. And then Painless just goes on with his day. He forgot that it ever happened. She cured him.
Right. Because now that he'd gotten over his
homosexuality,
his erectile dysfunction is what it was. Now he can go back to being a normal guy again. Yeah. What that implies about homosexuals, I kind of don't want to get into it. But I mean, once again, it's intended to be absolutely ridiculous.
Right. And it's during a time when homosexuality was treated as like a psychiatric disease.
Right.
And it was actually like, that's when you would treat homosexuality with like shock treatment.
Right.
And you would actually be thrown into a loony bin for it. Right.
Right.
Should not be using that term. But that is the term that was used at that time.
We can't use the term loony bin anymore?
No.
Why
that's
not?
terrible.
Why?
I don't know.
Loony sounds fine. I've never heard somebody be not okay with loony. Maybe I'm behind the times. I don't know.
It sounds like incorrect.
I don't know. I think it sounds
I
kind of
feel
playful.
like you would, but you were definitely institutionalized at the time if you had any kind of
right. I mean, people were very closeted. People just
if
didn't. You just didn't talk about it.
If you were queer in any way, society would try to fix you.
And taking place in the 50s,
quote,
especially
unquote,
the 50s. I think by the 70s. There was probably a little bit more open recognition of it, and it wasn't as extreme, but for the most part, people probably were still very closeted.
I think 60s and 70s was a little better, maybe slightly
like
better.
free love, all that stuff, maybe like in getting into the 70s. I think that it was probably a little bit better acknowledged, if not accepted.
It wasn't accepted.
Right.
It wasn't accepted, but it was a little bit more acknowledged.
Right.
And then by the 80s, at least, like,
Yeah.
it was understood
Right.
that it existed.
I mean, look, it was going to still take a while
yeah.
for depictions of homosexuality to come anywhere near realistic in film. But yeah, I mean, look, in a film like where they are poking fun at a lot of things, this is just one of the things that was on the menu. And it was done in such a ridiculous way that it's almost hard to be mad at it, but I don't know. That's just me.
Hey, Krissie.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about football?
Oh my God. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. We're going to get into it. Okay. So our next subject is one of our favorites. If you've been listening to the show is racism. I know. So I mean, we'll get to the most egregious one last. But first, I do want to hit on a couple of things. So first of all, once again, this is during the Korean War. And there's one Korean character that we know of, Ho-jin,
Yeah.
who is basically, he's not given any dimension, hardly any lines or anything. He is just kind of there. He is a servant. He is known for making great martinis in the middle of the day for the medical staff.
And to be clear, he didn't speak much English. And that, I believe in the book, if I remember correctly, like, he was a war orphan.
Okay.
And so the camp kind of adopted him and they were kind of teaching him English. I think Frank was teaching him from the Bible, but everybody else was just kind of helping him.
Right.
And just helping him survive.
Yeah. And he's just kind of there. Despite the fact that this war is probably extremely traumatic for people who lived in Korea at the time, there is absolutely nothing talked about in terms of like his experience or anything. Now, granted,
I don't remember him in the book. I can't remember for the life of me, but I'm going to say that that's correct, but I can't remember. So I apologize if I got that wrong.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll edit it out.
Okay.
It's fine.
No, we won't. Leave that in. It's fine.
No, but I mean, but he's an afterthought, you know, and the movie is not about the effects on Koreans. So, okay, like it's about these guys that are in the MASH unit. But the thing is, like, he's just there. He's just kind of like a servant. They don't really give him any color whatsoever. And he's just kind of like a prop, just to contextualize, like, look, you're in Korea. Okay, great. The other one,
Japan.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a scene in which Hawkeye and Trapper are playing golf and they get approached by somebody saying, hey, this congressman has specifically asked for somebody from this unit to go to Japan and operate on his son.
They need Trapper too because he is a world-renowned chess cutter.
Yeah.
That's why he was there. First, they needed a chess cutter. That's why he was originally at that MASH unit. He's very good at what he does. And he's like, great, I can bring in a doctor to assist me. I'm going to bring you, Hawkeye, and then we get to play golf in Japan.
Yay! Oh, and it doesn't hurt that the facility that they're going to is half hospital, half whorehouse.
No. That isn't the facility that they go to. That's the facility that they discovered because the gas passer that's working on the sun that they're operating on. So they get there and nobody is expecting them yet because the original plan is to go there and they're supposed to lay low for a couple of days until they get an operation time, but they want to do the golf right away.
Right.
So they just charge into the hospital, get everything prepped, get the sun in going, and then they discover that the gas passer there is an old colleague of Hawkeye's and he's gone expat. Mm-hmm. So he is now helping the local population. And what he does is that he donates his time. So he has an orphanage and a hospital that's funded by a whorehouse. And it's all in the same building.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think his name was Miley.
Because you lay, Miley.
Yeah. Oh, the names in this movie. So they go to Japan, and one of the first scenes that we see is them sitting around a table on the ground, and each man has a Japanese, what I'm assuming are prostitutes.
Yes.
Like these beautiful Japanese women, but just
faux geisha.
Yeah, and you've seen it before. It's kind of like they're just there, just petting them, adoring them, kind of giggling, you know, and
it's fetishizing
Asian women and making them seem like they're all prostitutes, essentially. You know, they're just laughing at whatever they say and everything, and it's like this is a common depiction from films back then of Asian women, and this one doesn't quite help at all, except for the part where they blackmail
Yeah, the colonel.
The colonel, yeah. They like at one point they do blackmail like the colonel. Once again, another authority figure who's seen as like a foil to their antics.
You're forgetting the part where when they first land in Japan and then they mimic the language.
Oh, that was so bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was bad. I don't even know like if satire excuses that one, but they're doing like the stereotypical like I'm not gonna mimic it, but how people back then used to mimic people speaking any kind of East Asian language. Let's just say that. You can understand
and then
it.
then they used the dreaded gong sound from like 16 Candles.
I know. Like, I think, is that
us.
the beginning of the use of the gong in comedies? Like where there was an Asian person, like any Asian person involved?
And then later on, that's when we come into the football scene.
Oh,
okay, so
the football scene.
So later on, one of the very last stories, the last vignette that we get to play with is a football game. They're playing against another Army MASH unit, and they need a really great player on their team because they're okay, but they need a ringer.
Yes.
So they bring in a ringer, and there is a fictional neurosurgeon that they bring in whose name is a racial slur because he is a great neurosurgeon, and his name is Dr. Oliver Jones, who is a neurosurgeon, but he goes by the name of
Spear Chucker.
Yes, because he's great with a javelin.
Yeah,
and that is what
we find that out later because people, like somebody went up to him and said, "Hey, why do they call you Spear Chuck?" He's like, "Oh, I used to throw javelin."
Now, to be clear, this is played by Fred Williamson, the great blaxploitation star. He was in Black Caesar. He's in Three the Hard Way, and during this time, he was playing for the NFL.
Yeah, so the stereotype is just like, okay. So first of all, one of the things that the film skirts around a little bit is that there were, I mean, at least by the end of the Korean War, there were about 600,000 Black soldiers in the Korean War. This film shows maybe 2 or 3 guys anywhere in this place. And like, so he happens to be a doctor, which I think you have a stat on. How many.
Yeah. So he is not based on a real person. There has been arguments back and forth about whether or not this man existed. This man did not exist as far as Richard Hooker working with this man. Mm-hmm. However, there were 3 or 4 known Black doctors that were working within the Korean War. And one of them, I wrote down, was Dr. Alvin Vincent Blount Jr. Huh. He was a neurosurgeon during that time and did serve as a surgeon and was a football player and like would have fit that. But I don't think that Richard Hooker knew of his existence.
Right. But this is like where the film kind of goes into like airplane mode. Yeah. No, I don't mean like the phone setting. I mean like the film Airplane because it's so ridiculous like how they stereotype the one kind of he's not even a major character. Like one of like the more prominent Black characters in the film is like, we know this Black guy. He's a doctor. His name is Spear Chucker. We hear he's a really good athlete. He's really good at like football. It's just like, of course he is. But what's funny is that the depiction of him, like he's not there for like slapstick pranks or fun or jokes or anything like that. No. They present him as like a very refined, very smart, very capable, proactive guy who is going to help them win, not just because of his physical prowess, you know, which was why they wanted him on the team in the first place, but because he's really fucking smart and he knows how to play this game really well.
He's clearly the only one that knows how to play it very well. He's the only one drawing up plays. And like after the scene, when he's in the surgical theater, mm-hmm. you see him working on someone's brain with Duke. And Duke is like ready to like haul ass and go home. And he's like, nah, you're going to stay here and help me close. Mm-hmm. We're not done with our work yet.
Right. I mean, he's like probably like the only example of one of the more straight characters, like the non-silly characters that does not get pranked or does not get humiliated, you know, and he's not like kind of like seen as kind of like those wet blanket authority figures. He's actually, you know, besides the name, which is terrible, and the assumptions that the characters make about him because he's Black, other than that, he's, you know, portrayed in like a very, you know, respectful way. You know, and he seems like a cool dude that you'd want to hang out with.
Yeah. And despite the awfulness of his name and the fact that he was brought in, he was being used, mm-hmm. you know, Hawkeye and Trapper John do their best to make him feel welcome. They bring him to live in the swamp. They treat him like an equal. They make him one of their own. They make him a swamp man.
Yeah. He comes into the fray as a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of them. kind of. I mean, we all know that that wasn't really the case back then. If we're talking about the 1950s, it was probably a little bit more strained than that. But the message of the film is clear, is that he was accepted.
Yeah.
So that's good.
All right. So do we chuck or do we cherish?
You go first. I think I know the answer. I know the answer. Yeah.
I first saw this film, I think I was 21 when I first saw this film. And I liked this film, but I don't think I fully got this film. And then I've watched it many, many times since then. And every time I watch this film, I love it just a little more. And every time, I just really love and appreciate this film just so much. I just really do. I love the anti-establishment themes. I love the charm. I love the irreverence. I love the cynicism. It isn't the 70s. It isn't the 50s, really.
No.
It doesn't represent either era. This is its own thing. And I love Donald Sutherland in it. I like the character that he betrays. And is he great? Is he a good person all the time? No. But is he charming? I like the way he walks around and calls everybody babe.
And the whistle?
I love the whistle.
Yeah.
I love Trapper John. I love the way that he carries olives with him.
Well, also, I mean, also like for people who don't go that far back with Donald Sutherland, don't know his older stuff too. Like if you looked at his like more recent like filmography and everything, he was more of a dramatic actor. So going back to like look at him in like a comedic role is like, oh my gosh, it's so refreshing. It gives you like a whole new respect for him.
Right, exactly. And like go watch this. Watch Animal House. Watch his comedy. He's so good in it.
Yeah.
Or, and then watch his horror. His horror is great too. So good. And it's just, he's so adorable and so charming. He's got little wire glasses and just everybody's great. This is Tom Skerritt when he was a baby. This was before Alien. And he's got he's a little bit racist because he's a Southerner, but he was so charming. And later on he gets together with Hot Lips and he's like has to hide that shame. It's just everything about these guys. Yeah, they're not the greatest, but you kind of want to hang out with them.
Kind of.
And they're just adorable in their own kind of terrible way. And I like that about them,
right? Because
human existence is flawed,
right?
And I'm flawed, and I admit that. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't think that these guys are bad guys. I just think that they make bad decisions.
And once again, they're not meant to. This isn't a documentary.
Yeah,
it's like they're meant to be kind of like these amplified, versions of this anti-establishment anti-hero.
And as for the mumblecore of it all, like I feel like this film really did something brand new that no one had ever seen before. It's a legendary story that both Sutherland and Elliot Gould, when they made this film, wanted to walk off the set. They didn't understand at all what Robert Altman was doing, and they hated it, and they kept complaining about it. And it wasn't until well into filming that they saw the end result that they realized he was a genius. Because no one had ever done this before. No one had ever had the layered speech and dialogue on top of each other.
And it's a meandering movie. It's just like, where's the part where we get put into action? There isn't. There is none of that.
There's no sweeping shots.
No.
There are no
beats. It's like there's almost like no beats. It's just kind of like, here's a scene. Now here's another situation. Now here's another situation. Like I can see how it would be disorienting for them as like main characters in the cast, being like, what is driving us right now? You know?
And it doesn't, listen, and Robert Altman has that very distinct style, and it doesn't work for all of his movies. We talked about this earlier. Like if you ever watch Popeye, this doesn't work for Popeye. Like you can't have Popeye meander. Popeye needs a plot. A meandering Popeye is just fucking chaos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Listen, I like Popeye and all, but it took me a while to get there.
Right.
Okay. It's just a beige meandering Popeye.
No, not at all.
Okay. So, but it works here. It works so well because that's what you want to do with these guys. I don't need them to have a plot. I just want to hang out with them, and I want to hang out with them in the moment. And that's what you do.
Yeah. I agree. I think that so for me, I'm a cherish, but I think it took me, it wasn't a cherish as I was watching it. If that makes sense. I think what happened is that when I was watching it, I got halfway through and I was just like, what is this film even fucking doing? There was definitely some amusing parts. I love seeing Donald Sutherland. I love seeing Tom Skerritt. I love seeing Elliot Gould. I love seeing Robert Duvall. The entire cast is fire in this, and there are many funny parts. But I had to kind of do a little bit of a reset because tonally it's like a little bit weird, and like you have to remind yourself, you have to be like, okay, this is a satire and it's commenting on like the Vietnam War, and you know, this is Robert Altman, so you're probably not going to get a plot anywhere in here, you know? And so like once I did that kind of like reset, I kind of was like, okay, wait, let me just like readjust how I'm thinking about this. And by the end, I was like, okay, like I appreciate that was a lot of fun. And as I read about it, the more I appreciated it too. So for me, it is a cherish. I appreciate the clever commentary that they had on the war at the time, the way that they approached the casting is impeccable. And its anti-authority edge to it, I thought was, I don't know, I thought it was a lot of fun, you know? And I think that you have to understand that, you know, like this isn't like your typical war movie. You know, you're not going to get like some crazy moral out of it. Like Robert Altman movies are more about themes than they are about a story. And I think he did a really good job of fleshing out those themes, like through these characters. Sure, some of it is pretty shocking. Some of it is hard to watch by today's standards if you don't look at it through that lens. You know, if you don't kind of like turn that lens on and say, this is what they were trying to accomplish. And so knowing what they were trying to accomplish and knowing the context of it, it's definitely a cherish for me. I mean, I wouldn't say I probably don't love it as much as Erin does.
Oh, no, I'm 100% invested.
But I do appreciate it as a piece of art and what it was trying to do. I think it accomplished that. And so it gets a cherish for me.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. We like something.
More movies that we like.
Yay.
There's only been 2 that we haven't liked. I mean, we're pretty good at this.
Yeah.
We can usually make excuses to like almost anything.
And if we hate something, then you should hate it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, if we say chuck it, it's probably irredeemable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we're looking at you, Blue Lagoon.
Yeah, Blue Lagoon and Song of the South.
Boo.
Boo. All right. Is there anything else that you want to finish off with? Any more thoughts about your favorite, one of your favorite films, MASH?
I'm going to go home and watch the TV show. I'm the only one. Last person on earth watching the show.
I am not going to watch the show. I'm going to watch some trash TV.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's going to be a great night. Well, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. So long.